Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 7th of April, 2021, 8:01 a.m. Central Time, my time. And I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all are blessed. And got a very, very challenging but fun conversation that I want to have with you, and a lot of things to talk about. I don't know how long this video is going to go. It's going to go a while, but I believe it could be one of the most valuable videos that I've ever done because of the kinds and quality of change that it might bring about in our world, and the way that if you use this information to self-evaluate, it has the potential to produce the highest level and highest quality change in your world. It has for me, and it is something that I have come to understand is basically the knowing of how things work. And I've tried to share this with you by giving you the resources and the directions to go on your own. I've tried to share it with you in some of the things that we've done in conversation about, similar to the last video series that I did with Casey and Charlie on the pursuit of freedom, and in bits and pieces. However, we are human, and because of the exact information that I'm giving you, or going to give to you today, the stuff that I'm going to discuss with you today, because of that, it is kind of a catch-22 situation in that that you're fighting against what's already there, and it makes change difficult. And so I've been struggling with this. All right, so many of you will remember that I just did a conversation last year with Niche, and she called me up. She has her website, and we did it was a 2-hour plus talk. Unfortunately, it got interrupted before we could finish a lot of stuff, because we were just skimming the surface on a lot of different topics, and we hit a couple of them that I didn't feel comfortable quite discussing at that point in time, because I hadn't thought about how to present it and how to get the information across. Because again, with the discussions that we had with Charlie, I think it became kind of evident in those discussions that it doesn't matter how good the information is. It doesn't matter how well the teacher may know it. If the teacher can't present the information and have the wisdom to understand the abilities of the students in such a way to present the information, that you're just pissing in the wind. And so I've been doing a lot of thinking on this. So, like I said, so this is gonna take a while, or may take a while, for me to get through a bunch of my thoughts on getting several concepts across to you about universe, and how universe works, and how we work in it and can use it to our benefit or not, and how we think about it, perceive it, and apply it to our own critical discernment of our personal inner vibration, because this is very important. So there was some very, very good information that we had in the discussions with Charlie and Casey. However, it was frustrating for me in those videos, because the first couple of them I don't think did very well relaying information, so much as that I don't think people were turned on enough to come into the last video, which I think did a better job of relaying certain information, but it didn't get as many views, and I think that's because there was a disconnect put in the way based on what I just said, that the information initially was not presented properly, and it kind of pushed people off. So I've been thinking on some things. I've been thinking on a lot of these issues and trying to come up with a way to present things in such a way that, one, it doesn't trigger algos in the corporate Silicon Valley control mechanisms, and that, more importantly, that when I share these thoughts and this information, that it is done in such a way that it can be absorbed, and not only absorbed, but provide each and every one of you that either doesn't get it yet or hasn't been presented with the information, so that you can actually learn this, so that you can go, oh, I see now, I get it. So let's start with a few basic concepts, and I know this is gonna. Again, my goal here is to tie together different things that we've been discussing in universe, about woo, as some would describe it, and our understanding as human beings of who we are, what we're in, what we're capable of, and how to become better. Because I've had an extraordinarily high amount of conversations with a lot of you. Some of you kind of really get it, and some of you don't. And those conversations that I've had with some of you haven't gone all that well, because in my conversations with you, I'll say stuff to you that I'm hoping that opens windows and doors so you can see things, and it didn't work, or it's not working as well, or the foundation that was built originally in your existence is so strong that it can't be seen past. And I love you all, and I want so many of you to enjoy life in ways that I do, and we're living in a soup of some really negative energy, and we got to figure out how to improve that. And so Charlie did it in his way, and his way is really good for those who kind of already get it, because once you already get certain aspects about how universe works and what things really are, because we've all been lied to. The architects of this matrix have intentionally disrupted the foundation of knowledge so that it is not very easy for somebody to climb their way out of the well, climb their way out of the hole, because they don't have the discernment, the teachability, the tools, the basic things that we should have all been taught when we were a baby, an infant, a child. Why do you think the political or the psychopathic elite, why do you think they wanted to get a hold of the education system as early as possible so they could disrupt things as early as possible? Because once you do that, it is extraordinarily hard to overcome. And since the majority of you who are going to be watching this are public school educated, you've had some disruption, whether you want to let your ego accept it or not, because we all want to think of ourselves as pretty darn smart. We want to, but you've heard me so many times talk about self-reflection, because if you can't self-reflect and accept your own faults, you can never improve. And for all intents and purposes, our social structure has programmed the majority of people to think that the problem's always out there. It's that person or that situation or that label, of a person, that group, it's never us. We're perfect. The minute we learn something, it's fact. We can never change it. We can never reevaluate it. We can never think through and discern against it, even though universe brings us data point after data point after data point that says our thinking is completely wrong. So I want to go over and start with some things, just the basics. I'm not going to get too deep in it, because every one of these topics and subject, topic and subject combined, topic, subject. Okay, so let's start with some basic things. We were taught that everything was stuff. This materium that we're in, the material world that we are in, it's stuff. It's physical pieces and parts and different kinds of pieces and parts, and building blocks or little marbles bouncing around, and some are attracted to each other and some aren't, and that is physical stuff. That matter can either be created or destroyed. We were taught that matter can neither be created or destroyed. It's a lie. We create and destroy matter, or the materium, with every thought we have. So what is it? What do we live in? What are we existing in right now? What is it? What does it make up? It is all energy. Because if you don't see this in your head, and remember, I'm going to tie this piece by piece together, so bear with me. Remember, everything that exists is energy, and everything has begun as a thought from some point in time or another. It even kind of says this in that Bible thingy, that there was thought. There was thought from God, or what we define as that higher power. There was a thought, and in his time frame, that everything was created. But the point is there. Everything that exists is energy, and it is not stuff. It is a vibration of frequency, and it's just that simple. If you can see it in your head. But if you see things in your head as stuff, then your ability to move forward in how creation or manifestation works is blocked. Because in your head, if you see things as stuff, then you see things as, I need to get that stuff, and I don't have that stuff. And in order to get that stuff, somebody else has it, or it's somewhere else, and I got to go get that stuff. That's not how the universe works. So everything is energy, and everything is thought. Thought and energy can, for the most part, be interchanged in quite a bit of our understandings of how the universe works. So everything around us had to have been thought of, or is thought, and has memory, because memory is thought, right? From the rocks that existed before any life did on this hunk of planet that we're on, water, elements, all that stuff, to the life that exists now. Everything that's come has come via thought. Or it also can be said that everything that gets created creates from a thought. So when you understand that the thought or the energy, and I want you to think about this, because when you have a thought, what are you talking about? You're talking about electrical connections and chemical energies popping off between neurons in your brain. And that it's all a bunch of vibrational energy. There's not a little piece of slate or piece of paper up here with a bunch of ink written down with a bunch of words. It's not. It's vibrational energy that moves through your mind and through your consciousness. This is a hard one for a lot of people to understand, because we've been taught that we live in a world that is solid, and it's not solid, because if it was solid, certain things could not happen, and they do happen. You know, like radio frequencies or cell phone frequencies passing through walls of concrete and steel and all of this, depending upon the frequency and what it has to go through in the materium and stuff. There are contradictions that prove contradictions to old ways of thinking that prove everything that I'm going to explain to you to be accurate and true. You just have to ponder it and ask questions. And you say, well, why? If this is true, then why does this happen? Or if this is true, why does that happen? Because if you are a mindset that discerns, you're always finding the miscongruencies between what you're hearing from people telling you that this is the case, like, well, you know, with the CV Holio there, the cornholio. When it first came out last year, once we started to see the reality, now we got a lot of stories about what happened in China, and some people still hold on to those stories without even having observed them, only ancillary issues, ancillary things that were not of direct observation, ancillary issues. These things happened on the internet. I don't trust anything that happens on the internet very well these days because of the control mechanisms. But it was stated it was a real thing. But when it got here to our country, supposedly it came here, there was a bunch of things that occurred that very quickly, for anybody who has a questioning, discerning mind, and most of you do to some extent on some of these things, but you don't do it internally the way we talk about and the way I'm going for, because this is about you. This is not about what's happening. I'm using this as an example. When it got here and we started seeing the news reports of it's a war zone. It's a war zone over here at this, and then you get the local people who live there with their little handheld devices here, and they go up and they're like, this is the hospital they said on the news. And so when you get into a position where you start to see the real physical manifestations of the energy that's being said, you know there's a dysfunction there, that things aren't in alignment. Alright, so this is the thing. We have been made and taught how not to question. We have been programmed, I should be saying programmed by our social structure and our education system not to discern and not to ask questions, regardless of the miscongruencies that we see all around us. Now, fortunately for a lot of us, the awakening that we're going through, this big awakening that we're going through, is about those miscongruencies becoming so obvious that more and more people are seeing them, right? We're waking up. Isn't that right? Spiritually, physically, mentally, socially. There is a process of us waking up to a lot of these lies. But the first one that we absolutely have to wrap our heads around is that everything is frequency. Everything is energy, a little vibrational energy. Okay? Because if you can't grasp that, then everything beyond is defunct. Your brain won't compute. Okay? And you won't see the picture. Because very, very clearly, we don't see in words. Our minds, our consciousnesses don't see and speak in words and written languages. We see in pictures. We see in a knowing of a condition. We see in sometimes in somewhat specific detail things happening or that have happened. Okay. However, words are energy too. Words are very, very powerful energy. Okay? So let's talk about that for a second. Many of my videos you've heard me discuss or make mention to, complain about the etymology of our language. And what's his face, Max Egan down there in Australia just did a really good video a couple of videos back here, kind of dancing around that the understanding of etymology, and he's got a couple clips in these videos for some ladies who have done a very good job of explaining that the English language is the language of legalese, and that it was designed because you had multiple words with multiple definitions. And that's a big problem that we have in our language, is that, for one, the etymology has been changed intentionally so that you are using words that have a vibrational frequency that is incorrect in your belief as to the manifestation of those words. Very, very critical information. So if you don't know what you're speaking, if you don't know the energy that you're putting out with the words you're using, you won't comprehend what you're manifesting, and you won't understand why things don't work in your world. Very, very important and critical information. You know, when you first get into the the secret and the law of attraction, one of the things that it tells you is you get what you think about. You get what you speak about, and you need to write it down in order to manifest these things. However, we have not been taught, and only by studying some of this information do we start to learn that the recipes of words, just like baking a cake, and you've heard me say this before, just like baking a cake, if you have flour and sugar and all these ingredients, depending upon the recipe, depends upon the quality of the cake that you get. But how many of you self-evaluate the recipe of words that come out of your mouth and the thoughts that go through your head? So both of those things, the thoughts that are in your head that are vibration, and they All right, so let's do a very short reference here to hang on. Oh, I'll just use this. When you understand that everything is energy, everything is vibration and frequency, then you must understand that you are a transmitter and receiver of frequency. And I can get into a myriad of details of how that works, but that's, like a whole week's conversation. I want to stay on this. I want you to just understand this concept. So stay focused on this concept. It's like the cell phone or the little handheld walkie-talkies. These things are designed to work on just a specific frequency and manage that frequency. Or if you're like in my radio cabinet here and you turn into channel 28, somebody else who wants to receive that frequency has to be turned into channel 28. Almost kind of works the same way with yours. So when you think a thought and then physically manifest that thought into another form of energy, sound, by speaking and putting out that vibration of that image, the image that will be manifested. Like, I want a truck, I want a Toyota truck, and I've been wanting this Toyota truck forever. Eventually, I'm going to manifest a Toyota truck, but I'm seeing the picture in my head of Toyota truck, because I know that's one of the best kinds that are made, and I want it to last long, and for all these reasons that I've tied around to it, all these thoughts into manifesting that Toyota truck, and then I say it as you have seen me do all around my homestead with all of my manifestations. We need to focus on that thing we want to manifest. But it is understanding that your brain, your body, your consciousness is acting and behaving just like this cell phone. And if you don't dial the right number, you're not going to get the right person to answer it. Because that's where we're going here. And what I want to do here as we get through this discussion is explain to you, as we continue, why you're not connecting the calls that you want to, or why you're getting somebody on the other end of the line that you don't want to talk to. And there's a lot of you out there that I've talked about that keep telling me, I've got this problem, I got this problem, and that problem doesn't go away. I got this problem, I got this issue, there's this thing, and it doesn't go away. So I'm going to explain to you, I'm going to continue to work and make these dots connected, because we're only 27 minutes in, 28 minutes in, we still got a ways to go here. I'm trying to get certain concepts. If you can wrap your head around the concept of what I'm talking about, then you can do a better job of self-discerning, because you can start sampling, and you know how to sample your own recipe ingredients, and that's what takes place up here. It's all in it's all in the head. It's all in your head, man. It's really all in your head. And if you can figure out this thing, the world around you will change in ways you can't even wrap your head around. It will blow your mind, the things that you can manifest. So you have to understand everything's energy, and that we, and I've said this before and many others have, that we are conscious beings that have come energetically into the materium, into the physical world that we experience for several reasons. We chose to come here, that it is our choice to be here, 100%. However, because of our transition from the ether, the ethereal existence of all energy, or God energy, as we are all little pieces of God, because God is all, as we are little pieces of God, when we move in from the ethereum, the ether, into the physical manifestation, and we decide that we've come into the sandbox because we want to play in this sandbox and we want to build our sand castles, right? For whatever reason, we lose that for the initial part of our life. We lose that spiritual connection during our initial part of our life, and I'm not sure. There's a few people with a few ideas of how long it takes for us to reconnect. Well, obviously, for me, it took me 40-something years to kind of reconnect. It took me a lot of learning, a lot of observation of how things work, and then going to the right sources because I wanted to learn, and I told the universe, what am I doing here and why? And I asked those questions. And for some of you, it may be a spiritual thing where you get down on your knees and you pray to God and you say, God, why am I here? I don't understand. This doesn't feel good. Right? I know there's a bunch of you that's done that. So, we came here to experience. And then we came here to create. Now, each and every one of us came here to experience things because from the ether we can see. You know, when you're in the ether, you can see what's going on in the materium, but you can't affect it really the way you can by being here. It's not the same thing. So we made this choice. We wanted to experience contrast. We came here because we all said, I see a problem down there in that physical world, and I want to go experience it, I want to learn about it, and I want to understand it so that I can figure out how to fix it. Because we are creators. And as you have somewhat observed, but not really thought about maybe, is that as time, and time's going to be the next topic we get into, as time flows, the amount of creations expand exponentially, especially when you have a lot more of us consciousness, a lot more of us conscious beings, our souls, our spirits that have come from the ether. The more of us that are here, the more creation happens. Because if all you had was 100,000 people living out in the woods in the 1600s, there wasn't as much manifestations and creations and that kind of thing. It wasn't. We didn't move very fast because there wasn't as many of us going, hey, I want to fix that. Oh man, I want to make that better. Ooh, I see a problem there. Let me invent the wheel. That kind of thing. So we came here by our own choice to experience contrast. And that means experiencing something that feels good and experiencing something that doesn't feel good. So that we could learn, and that's what we're all here to do, is to learn how to make better choices, how to become better. Because we said, I'm going to come here, I want to make things better. I want to make things hugely better because I don't like what I see down there. And because we're all parts of God, we're not big G, but we're all our own little G's. And those other little G's that are up there that want to be big G's, they're the problem. Because they're not going about this the way that big G set our little game up. And our little game was for we all come here and make things better and not find ways to destroy. So here we are trying to figure this out, and because we have had a period of time where this information, and a long period of time where this information was kept from us as to who we are, where we're at, what we're doing here, and why this, and I'm speaking in a lot of some of these things I'm speaking in generalities because I can't get too deep. Otherwise, this would be a 30-day long discussion, and I still wouldn't get into everything that I've learned. But I want to try. We're about 34 minutes, and by the time I'm done, I hope you can walk away from this with the ability to change yourself so that you can manifest your world better, faster, for what makes you happier and improves the materium, the physical manifestation for all of us. Because as you can see, we got a lot of fear, a lot of ugly things that are occurring. A lot of that is happening now around us. And the only way that we get out of it is by change. I know you've heard the old saying, what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We have to change. The change is not going to come from somebody on high. The change, there's no savior for our materium other than us as a whole. There is, via the Bible, a savior for your soul, but if I'm reading everything correctly and I'm seeing everything correctly, if my vision of how things work is correct, even through the Bible, it explains it very accurately, and that is coming to the knowledge of who you are, where you're at, and what the purpose of you coming here was, and what have you done to fix things, make things better, improve things versus tear things down. I've listened to was it Potter, and I've listened to some of Jesse BP Earthwatch, and they've talked about this, and they've read through some Bible verses here recently, and that's what's kind of helped me. It's what kind of helped me is to hear the wording. Remember the vibrational energy that was being presented, and not just get it here to, and even Jesse's been talking a whole lot about the etymology of the words in the Bible, but you have to extend it further and further, and not just, it was just oath. No, you apply concepts. Once you learn concepts, apply these concepts across the board to everything. And it's not easy to do that until you practice. It takes a long time, and I'm still learning it myself as much as I understand. So what I gathered from some of this is the difference in the etymology of the words and what was intended to be manifested. Why did we come here? What did Jesus say we came here to do? Whether we have learned our connection with the higher consciousness, with God, Goddess, Buddha. You can put a lot of labels on that higher energy. It is not two separate gods. There's not a Buddha. There's not a God. There's not a Allah. It's not. If you believe that, then there is no help for you. Sorry if you don't like that statement. But the point is this. If you see things as separate, because even within the Bible studying that BP has talked about, he's even said it in his words, his biblical words, and his way of saying it, that, God created everything, so God is all powerful. But God also created Lucifer, and he said God also created the evil. Why did God? So everything is a part of everything's a part of this good creation. What is the purpose of that? So that we can experience it and learn to choose between the not so good feeling and the good feeling. It is you and I that are the little creators that come in. But Erin, all my programming, I'm going to spit it all out and tell you what I know. Then you're not teachable. Then you're not willing to change. So, You must understand that each and every one of you are responsible for everything that has happened to you in your life. And if you cannot accept this, you cannot change to improve it. It's as Cliff High has discussed in some of his videos, that is the growth that we all must do, is to accept the fact that we are all creating our own messes. So again, this conversation I'm doing is the whole purpose is to try and put together a way to explain things so that most every one of you can walk away and go, oh, now I know what to do. Or now I know how to make it, now I know how to fix this. Now I know how to make it work. Now I know how to do it better. This is what I hope to do. This is the whole purpose of this video, so that some of you already got it. I've had a bunch of you out there that I know that really know, what to do. So the first concept is this. You must accept full responsibility for making the choices of what you're creating. We all do, because as Potter was stating, if we were all in a moral place, we wouldn't have a corrupt government, because we would have made better choices as to who represents us. So we all, as a whole, as this country, get what we deserve. Even Tyrannosaurus Rex has made that same statement. So the idea here is to get you to accept that first, that we're all alcoholics in a way. We all drink our drink, and the drink is doing and thinking things, thinking and saying and doing things that cause this manifestation upon us. Alright, that's the first concept. That's the biggest concept, is to understand that we are the creators, and how we create. And we create with our thoughts, the things we see, and then the things that we say, the stuff that comes out of our mouth, the stuff that we spew out all the time. Whether is it positive, is it creating, or is it negative and fear and destruction? What are we saying? And then there's another aspect to it. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it is an even more powerful concept. The next level of just understanding that this becomes this. And that is, there is the subconscious mind. What you're thinking without speaking, the stuff that's rattling around in the back of your head all the time. Because your mind doesn't ever shut down unless you fall asleep. And that's a whole different discussion in itself. But getting a hold of the subconscious mind, the little things that you think about all the time, is one of the most powerful things that you can ever do. I have seen people change things that, is like the hand of God, as would be described by maybe Bo Pony in the size, quality, and magnitude of what can be created in a very short period of time. Because what we're talking about, change. That's what we're talking about, change. Because in the end, what we all came here to do was change something by creating something new from what we've seen and experienced. And whether you want to believe that you chose it or not doesn't matter, because in the end you will get what you think about, and you will get what you speak about. That's why I've told you before, in this collapse that we're going to go through, every possibility will get manifested and in some form or fashion, because there's enough people out there that are going to be thinking about it and creating it. So it's going to get manifested because it's all being focused on strongly enough by a lot of people. So those kinds of things are coming. Now, 45 minutes. I hope you're still with me, and I hope you have this concept. So let's move on to the next concept, and the next concept was a big one. When I was discussing or having the discussion with Niche, and when she called in and did my little talk, I had a hard time. At that point in time, I had not had the opportunity to sit down and think about how to take something that is very complex and put it into the very constricting words that we have created in our language, specifically because even though I comprehend and understand that the etymology of our language has been usurped and degraded on a lot of points, I had not taken the time to ponder it. Now, after this little series that we did with Charlie, I've had the opportunity to rethink the way I can express it. And now, so I'm going to give it a shot to kind of describe time. Actually, you know what? Let me stop and let's make a second part B, because this is going on kind of long.